So it's a great luxury to be in my own shul tonight. It's also a luxury for me to be able to greet you and also to present to you an old and dear friend, a person of great significance to not only our organization, but to many other organizations in the United States. He is a past leader of the All-American Conference Against Communism. He was the first Jew ever elected to that position. He is a fierce fighter against the John Birches. He pulled out many of our contingents from activities in which these organizations were going to participate because they didn't represent the kind of things that are important to either America or Judaism or liberty or anything else that this country stands for. It's especially significant tonight that we have Bob Zwiman with us because he started and has continued to follow, as well as give it the tender loving care it needs, our program in the Jewish War Veterans for the Vietnam veterans. During his term of office, he is the one that started our honor roll. He is the one that brought attention to the great contributions of these ladies and men who fought in this very, very terrible war. And he is here today to see the fruits of some of his labor. And who but he could really explain to us and tell us why the Vietnam veteran is so important to America. It's my great honor, my great pleasure to introduce my great friend and leader, Bob Zwiman.
You know, I look at the program, and the program says I'm going to speak to you on Vietnam outreach of the JWV. I make only one comment on that, if I may, is that the program will succeed because the program must succeed. And if I may just take some of your time to give you the observations of a non-Vietnam vet who's come into the capital of his nation to salute his brother veterans who did in fact serve in Vietnam. I came in on a Wednesday night, went to Constitution Hall, and listened to a very stirring program. I got up the following morning in my nation's capital, where the salute to my brothers was being held, and I turned on my television because this was going to be the beginning of my pride and my nation's pride. And the newscast carried a number of things. Brezhnev died, and that took up a large portion, and I can understand that. That's a world happening. The other portion of the news was taken up with the shuttle to Columbia. Columbia going off on Veterans Day, dedicated to Vietnam veterans. But the shuttle wasn't dedicated to Vietnam veterans. And I sat and I watched my television set in Washington, D.C. and saw nothing mentioned about the salute to Vietnam veterans. And I sort of felt maybe it's not a real start. Maybe it's not a real beginning. Fresh start, call it what you will. And I reflect back on my concerns not only for them as my brother veterans, but as to them as my fellow citizens in this great nation. And I say for 10 years, nothing happened. For 10 years, the nation was quiet, and strangely, they were quiet with it. And then I reflect on an occasion which was a disgrace to my nation, where the face of my nation was pushed into the dust and into the dirt in Iran. And out of that dishonor, out of that travesty, something good did in fact happen. And it happened to these my brother veterans. Because when the hostages returned, they were welcomed. And my brother veterans said, why not me? Why wasn't it done for me 10 years ago when I came back? Why was there no concern? I wasn't there and taken over by some tyrant. I went there to serve my nation. I went there because it was a national concern. But nobody welcomed me. Nobody had a parade. And out of that travesty, there developed within many Vietnam veterans something that lied dormant within them for the years before. Within them came forward a pride and an individualism which said, I serve this nation and I should have been recognized by this nation. And they came out and were willing to say that they served in Vietnam, where before they were embarrassed to say it. Where they would hide it, where they would show no concern, because they wanted to forget it. And they wanted to forget it because there was no pride or honor that went with it, because the nation said there was no pride or honor that goes with the killing of babies. And no pride or honor goes with the service of a nation in a cause that was fundamentally not accepted by many in their own peer group, let alone with others who were not in their peer group. And a number of them awoke and said, really, I'm someone, and I've got to be considered as someone. Many others looked at their children and said, I have to be able to give them an answer, and if I have no pride and I have no self-respect, what answer can I give them other than to not trust their nation, not trust its leaders, not love its democracy or republic, or call it what you will. And I came to Washington for the salute, anticipating this welcome home, which was so long in coming, and to say that really does not reflect the feeling of the American people. And I went to the memorial, and I got there and I have mixed emotions, very honestly. My view of the memorial may be different than some others, and I've discussed this with a number of the boys, and there's difference of opinion. I walked to the memorial, which slopes down gently into a V consisting of black marble. And as I walked down, I thought of the prayer, yea, though I walk through the valley, I shall not have any fear, paraphrasing. And I stood there with many others who were looking around, and I had a sweat. I have a concern. Because you and I reflect on that which we learn from our history and that which we learn from man's inhumanity to man, if you will. And there I stood, down on that hill in Baba Yar. I stood in a Russian mass grave of Jews who died there, surrounded by 57,939 American names. I was deeply concerned. I was sort of enveloped by my thinking. Because was this in fact a mass grave? Was this what its purpose was to be? And I looked at the people, and they were concerned. They looked for names. Some broke down because they did find the name and they remembered. And they were concerned with the memory. And then I reflected further, if you will. And I said, I thought of Baba Yar because the world knew of that mass grave, and the world would not forget those who died there. And I said, here, though this symbolized in my mind initially a mass grave, it is a reflection of the names of those who gave their lives for this nation of ours. But it is not merely a memorial. A memorial is only to the dead. This is a beginning, because sloping up out of that grave is where we will all walk together, where we must walk together, where in fact we must bury the past, as we buried those 57,939 men. We remember them, but we have to remember far more than that. We must now say to ourselves, this is behind me. The causes no longer have any effect. The causes are dead in this memorial. And you have to remember one thing, and I reflected on it, and we discussed it coming up here tonight. There is no other memorial in the city of Washington, D.C., memorializing any war or conflict. Yes, there are statutes to individuals, to battles. This is the only memorial to those who died in this nation in a war. Reflect back, none for the Revolutionary War, the 1812, Civil, Spanish, World War I, World War II, or even Korea. You've done something. You've brought the honor to those who died in the war because they singularly now have a monument to their contribution. And you no longer need to apologize for it. You no longer have to prove yourselves. You did in fact prove yourselves by voluntarily putting up this monument with your own dollars, not with any government money. Your days of proof are over. Your salute is your beginning. And my days of apology are also over, because now my apology is total and complete acceptance, and must in fact be that total and complete acceptance, because you have accepted me, and I must accept you, because we are in fact brothers. We in fact have the same desires and the same wishes and the same concerns, the same needs. And I stood in Constitution Hall, I listened to the music, and you listened to the music. pride was no less than your pride. My understanding was no less than your understanding. And I listened to the music as you did, and I thought of the words, one particular one, because you responded to it, and I responded to it. And the words brought me back because I heard it on 2 occasions. The words were, "This is my country." My emphasized the word. Land of my birth. This is my country and your country, and it is in fact the greatest on earth. I and you pledge thee our allegiance, America the bold, because very honestly, realistically, and intuitively, this is mine and your country to have and to hold. The nation seeks your contribution as you seek the contribution from America. The nation needs your work, not an undying loyalty, but a creative ability to translate what you have to contribute. We use the word reconciliation. The word is wrong. You never left us, and you never will leave us. And while we love you, you must love us. While we, you and I together, build for ourselves, the children, and for the society, the salute will say, we are one. And with that oneness, and with that mutuality of love and respect which is inherent in each and every one of us, we shall fully, completely eliminate a past which was sordid and look to a future that shall, in fact, be beautiful. And to this I say with you, Amen.